China is a vast country, diverse in people and rich in cultural history. However, her large population has presented many challenges for social development and for families to maintain a high quality of life. To help the situation and slow population growth, for many years the Chinese government has enforced a one-child policy for family. Yet the preferences for boys over girls is strongly rooted in Chinese tradition. 80% of families in rural areas prefer having sons instead of daughters, resulting in many abandoned baby girls. In addition to many children with physical or mental handicaps are given up for adoption. The Chinese government has realized the urgency and seriousness of this phenomenon and has made it a priority to resolve the situation. In 1992, the Chinese government began to allow foreign adoptions, hoping that this policy would not allow more orphan children to grow up in a loving home, but also help the many families who desire to adopt children. As of 2008, about 100,000 orphaned or disabled Chinese children have been adopted by foreigners from 16 different countries. America leads in adopting from China, with 70,000 adoptions a year and an increase of 6,000 more children being adopted a year. The adoption applications have become easier and smoother for both countries to process because of the Chinese government's standardized, transparent adoption policies, as well as cooperative efforts by many non-profit organizations. The Chinese adoption policies have thus been exemplified in the international community. San Francisco, a pleasant seaside city on the west coast of the United States, has been an important gathering place for Chinese immigrants since the port was established. From 1992 to the present, many young Chinese faces have appeared within the community. These children are refreshing and full of energy. Yet they are different from the other Chinese children in the area, because the parents accompanying them are Americans of generally Caucasian heritage. These biracial families appear in public places such as shopping malls, parks, and the streets. Their presence adds uniqueness to the city. How are children born in China doing in such foreign lands? What has their childhood been like? All of the children adopted from the early 90s are teenagers or young adults now. What is it like for them to live in a different culture? What are some of the difficulties the American parents face in their adoption journey? What are the joys and challenges in adopting from China? Back in China, many people care about these children now living in foreign lands. The government is concerned for their well-being, their caretakers from the orphanages are always thinking of them, and their birth parents perhaps pray for their well-being. Let our camera show you what we heard and saw. Born in Sichuan province, Elias Baker was 4.5 years old when George Baker and his wife adopted him over 10 years ago as the couple's first child. His arrival started the Bakers' life together as a family. Eventually, the family grew to include siblings Michael and Arlene, who were also adopted from China. As a boy, Elias was quiet but steady, an easy child to raise. Perhaps it was the love from his foster parents, support from his siblings, or home environment, but today Elias is just like any other child. Elias has become a tall and strong young man who enjoys playing sports, a typical American. His presence adds an intangible support for his father as the oldest son in the family. He is a bridge that brings the generations together. Michael was 6 years old when he came home to the Baker family. He was from the same orphanage Elias lived. After Elias was adopted, he would often tell his new parents about his best friend Michael, who was still at the orphanage. Eventually, the Bakers were also able to adopt Michael, and the two became brothers. Just like any other family, the youngest child sometimes will have more tantrums, but Mr. Baker would always gently and kindly calm Michael down. In the days to come, Michael would understand the genuine and tender love his father showed him. George Baker says, besides the everyday necessities, anytime his children need their father's love, he will go to them immediately. At 19 years of age, Catherine is a first-year university student. She was 11 years old when Jerry and Claire Pendleton adopted her from her orphanage in Kunming, China. Living in a rather sheltered orphanage environment, Catherine's values, knowledge, and worldviews were already well defined during these first 11 years of her life. After she came to the United States, her world was turned upside down. Suddenly, everything familiar to her, the people she knew, and the culture she was accustomed to was no longer there. When she first came home, she was anxious, fearful, and overwhelmed by all the new people in her life. Yet as she shares, her life was transformed when for the first time she knew what it was like to be loved by parents, her own parents. At the tender age of 11, immersed in a different country, she regained the love from her parents and made new friends. To Catherine, such drastic change was nevertheless a smooth journey, and ultimately a wonderful experience.
We can go out and we can love people, and that they don't necessarily have to be our own, but we can bring them in and love them, and we can do so much as people to share and bring more knowledge and awareness and love to people out there. What I do want to share and to say is there are a lot of children out there who don't have homes, and there are children out there who may have special needs, I would say, who may have some difficulties in life. But that doesn't mean that they're any less, and that doesn't mean that they can't be loved the same way as a normal child. And if anything, the more love that we give them, the better off they will be, and the more joy that they will be into our lives.
Of the 5 families we interviewed, Alicia was the youngest child, but already it was clear that she was well loved. Under her parents' and brothers' tender loving care, Alicia learned to say her first words. Just a few short years later, she is already a very good soccer player. Alicia is no doubt a happy child. From her innocent glance, her past in an orphanage no longer exists, and will not determine her future. Alicia's parents, Jerry and Linda Johnson, are charming, optimistic, and cheerful. Their relaxed mannerism and humorous approach to life make the family all the more harmonious. Such close bonds between them surpasses differences in race and blood. Little Alicia is already deeply rooted in the Johnson family. Peter and Brenda Hanchen have 2 daughters, 13-year-old Chloe and 12-year-old Quinn. Peter has been practicing law for many years and is diligent, steadfast, careful, unbiased, and logical. Brenda, once a teacher, maintains an orderly and harmonious home with her calm and cheerful personality. In raising their children, the couple loves them deeply and also believes in proper discipline with a special focus on learning about both Chinese and American cultures. Today, Chloe and Quinn are 2 lovely, happy, and intelligent young ladies blossoming like flowers, because they are strengthened from being in a family and know they have the utmost love and support of their parents. Mr. Vito Mazzarino was born in an Italian family. His wife Emily emigrated with her parents from Taiwan to the United States in 1980. 14-year-old Monica and 11-year-old Jessica were both adopted from China. Because of Emily's ethnic heritage, their children have been brought up in a similar cultural background. As outsiders, we could not sense that the children were adopted since they had complete confidence in their parents and were very close to each other. As the California sunshine nourishes the earth, Vito's easygoing and cordial character combined with Emily's cheerful and energetic spirit nourishes the children, providing them with a healthy environment to grow up in. Emily shared that the moment they decided that they would adopt, families on both sides gave them full support and confidence. They hoped that their children would be healthy, emotionally and physically, once they were out of the orphanages. They believed that the children would bring their new family happiness that they would not be able to have otherwise, as has been the case. In our interviews, all the parents spoke of their adopted children as their very own. Yes, they would be able to experience the joy of seeing a life grow, but the responsibility of raising a child, especially one from a different culture, is so difficult that an impulsive decision simply would not sustain such challenges. Yet we are glad to see that the parents have taken on the difficult task of foreign adoption, not only with great courage, but also with great commitment.
我做这个收养工作已经12年了，就是说最大的感受就是我是很被这个收养家庭的爱心所感动。这些孩子是来自一个不同的文化的，那么这些家庭为了让他们的孩子对自己的文化有这个自豪感，对他们孩子这个成长过程当中培养他们的自信心，这些家庭都绝大多数家庭都自己努力去学习中国文化，他们是全心全意、无条件的爱他们的收养孩子。这些孩子的确是在美国生活得非常幸福。
Arlene was already 9 years old when she came to the Baker's family from Hunan, China. She was the most recently adopted and also the oldest child in the family, which may explain her loving care for her family. Even though she was well cared for by caretakers in her orphanage, she longed for the day when she could have a home and a set of parents she could call mom and dad, just like children outside the orphanage. After Arlene arrived in San Francisco, Miss Baker, a Korean American, embraced her new daughter with love. But Arlene's dreams of having a happy family were shattered 3 years later when tragically Miss Baker became ill and passed away. Arlene and her 2 brothers were once again devastated. While alive, Miss Baker gave her children the kind of love that healed their memories of sadness and loneliness at the orphanages. Mr. Baker is taking his 3 children to the cemetery to remember her today. The death of a loved one brought immense loss and a deep longing to the rest of the family, especially to George. To him, everything about his home and his children reminded him of the wonderful life they had cherished together. As a small comfort, George knows that his wife can rest in peace, knowing that their children are well and healthy, and that their children love their father and are taking care of him in her place.
I hope when he gets sick, I'll be able to take care of him. And yeah, I hope he'll be able to be at my wedding.
For the Pendletons, the path to adoption of their second eldest daughter, Hannah, was more complex than for their daughter, Catherine. Originally from Hubei province, Hannah was first adopted by another family in the United States. However, to survive in her orphanage, she had to advocate for herself and had developed a very strong personality. Both Hannah and her first adopted family were not adequately prepared to face the challenges and were unable to reconcile their differences. Hannah was once again faced with an enormous blow. Would she be able to once again adapt to a new family, new parents, and new sisters? Hannah's fear and rebellion were difficult for Jerry and Claire to work through. But with each new difficulty, they were motivated to show their love and tolerance even more. Helping Hannah through the grieving process and fostering a healthy emotional mindset was of greatest priority for them. So, Claire decided to resign from a well-paying job so she could spend more time with her children. She felt that her daughters were missing the atmosphere of a normal family life, which is very important for their emotional growth. Gradually, The loving sense of a family, mother-daughter connection, and emotional attachment helped Anna's experience for the first time the warmth of a loving home.
I'm really happy that they adopted me, and I think the best thing a parent can give to a child is being a parent and a family. And also, the best thing what they did was, best thing about adopting is you save one child's life by giving them a family, and I think that's really important. And that's how when I get older, when I grow up, I want to adopt kids from China also.